The Silja Symphony is a nice big ship, and it cruises overnight from Helsinki to Stockholm. We'll be arriving in the morning, fresh and ready to begin our 3-day visit to the capital of Sweden, boarding along the covered gangway. Of course, you could fly to get from Helsinki to Stockholm, but going by ship is a lot of fun. It's like being on a cruise. You have some of the advantages of being on a cruise, such as this very comfortable ship. It's like a big floating shopping mall. You're even greeted by a clown as you get on board. And there's all kinds of restaurants on board and lounges and nice observation areas. And it's a pleasant cruise. It's overnight. The rooms have either a view of the mall or a view looking out towards the water. So it's like cruising, but in our tour, we chose not to do a cruise of Scandinavia, because if you're in the ship the whole time and then just pull into port for a day, you really don't see as much. The cabins are very comfortable. The ship is quite clean and modern, and it's nice just to be on board for an evening and overnight, and then the next morning you arrive in Stockholm ready to tour. We'll be spending 3 nights in Stockholm, and here's a little preview for you of some of the activities that we'll be enjoying here. There's a number of boat rides that you can take. There's the Nordic Museum we'll be visiting in a later program. We're presenting a series to you on Scandinavia that's going to add up to about 5 hours of programming. It began with our visit to St. Petersburg, Helsinki. Now we've arrived in Stockholm. The next cities we'll be visiting are Oslo and Copenhagen, as our grand tour of Scandinavia continues with some views of the harbor. Scandinavia has a wonderful old town. It's the Gamla Stan. It's a medieval district that was built back in the 12th and 13th centuries, and it's still standing, very well preserved today. We'll be taking you on a walking tour of the Gamla Stan coming up in just a few minutes in this program with a local guide. Our hotel is located in this part of town. We always like to stay in centrally located hotels, particularly if they're in the older part of town and they're nice and clean and have good facilities, as the Hotel City did. It's a great place to stay. You could also stay in the more modern downtown and be surrounded by a variety of shops and other attractions. And let me tell you from the vantage of downtown what we're going to be doing. We're visiting Stockholm, Sweden as part of our tour of Scandinavia, and it's a very interesting city. We're spending 3 days here. There's that much to do. There's museums, there's shopping districts, there's all kinds of boat rides, many fine restaurants. We're staying at a nice hotel in the old town, the Gamla Stan, and now we're out walking in the newer part of the city in the middle of the shopping district. The modern downtown area is very friendly to the pedestrian, for there's a lot of malls where cars are not allowed. So it's very easy to get around on foot. And there's also a subway and easy bus service to get you from one side of town to the other. But you'll find that Stockholm is reasonably small. You can walk from the old medieval town to this modern shopping area in about 15 minutes. And all along there is plenty of interesting things to see. There's shops everywhere and parks and fountains. You'll certainly want to visit several of the museums in Stockholm, particularly the Nordic Museum. This has a vast collection of Swedish furnishings. There's decorative arts, table settings, costumes, jewelry, photography, ceramics. It's the elements of everyday life that are stored here, like the Smithsonian does for America. You'll see history come to life. They have interactive exhibits for the kids where they can dress the part of their ancestors. Sweden is, after all, a very modern country today with a proud past, and this museum helps to recapture the old traditions for the younger generation. Nordic Museum on the left, and on the right, the Vasa Museum. You see the 3 tall masts there, part of the wooden building structure. Inside is the ancient sailing ship, the Vasa, that sunk on its maiden voyage back in the 17th century. We'll take you inside in a future episode of World Traveler, and we'll be taking you to Tivoli and Skansen. Now we're going to take you on a walking tour through the historic part of town. We always like to have a local guide take us on a walking tour. It's the best way to see someplace.
Yes, I was thinking we are going to do a walk in the old town, in the old part of town here for maybe an hour and a half or so. And then we see how much time we have left. But I think that's what we'll do this morning. Does it sound all right? Okay, so why don't you follow me? Right now, we are standing on the edge of the water. If we would have stood here about 700 years ago, because at that time, when the old town was built up, this was just the port was here, or the water went up there. But the land has rose. That's why it has grown, the old town. You know, this is the shopping street that will lead up to I think some of you took it yesterday. And this is the street with the restaurants. So we went far on that street. And those streets were from the beginning the city walls around the state. Now we call this around the city of Stockholm. We call this now the old town, but it used to be the city of Stockholm. But this square that we're standing here on, it's called the Iron Square, because at the time when it was water here around, this was a place where the ship came in and you reloaded them and shipped. Stockholm became a big trading town, so they shipped out iron around the world, because Sweden has already, since 400 or 500 years, we have been a great producer of iron in the north of Sweden, and it came down here and we shipped it up. I'll just tell you, this is the smallest street in Stockholm that we're taking now. So, because Sweden has already, since 400 or 500 years, we have been a great producer of iron in the north of Sweden, and it came down here and we shipped it up. I'll just tell you, this is the smallest street in Stockholm that we're taking now. So. Did everybody get through? No, that's the problem in this. But I think you'll make it. This is a little bit later. You can see on the architecture that it has this. It means that it's probably from the 18th century. With this style, Renaissance. Very typical for the old town is also that they have saved the structure from the medieval. This is how the streets were laid out. And you see, in most time they do straight street. That's more practical. But in this time they had streets like this, and they really have saved it. Even though houses have burnt down, they have built them up on the same places. So the look is about the same. And this is really the heart of the town, so this is the most expensive. They have very small kitchens and very small bathrooms, and most houses are also protected, so you can't make the kitchen or the bathroom any bigger than it is. Okay, we can continue maybe. We have a great day today. Now we are on a street that was very famous because on this street, if you wanted to find, women on the streets, you went here. And well, you could go on many places, but this was one of the most famous, and especially this house here. They had a lot of women. They used to lean out the windows, and they come here. No, I don't think you would find any women right now. They're still sleeping. Wealthier people they could afford a fire assurance. So they bought a fire insurance, and it looks like this, and they put it on the top of their door. And when it was a fire, maybe it burned about everywhere. The firemen came, and when they saw a house who had an assurance, they mostly tried to